Hello there, everyone, and a very, very happy Friday to you today. I hope you are all doing really well. Hopefully, it's not like a bajillion degrees where you are, and that you're able to stay inside, maybe where it's a little bit cooler, and enjoy a nice sunny or rainy, in our case here in Germany, Friday. So, welcome to our live. I'm delighted to be here with you. My name is Sarah, and I'm really excited to work with you today on a very fun and versatile project. So, you may have seen the design either on the Arden Facebook page or maybe on my Facebook page. So, this is a really fun and easy project that you can do for Father's Day is coming up this weekend. Could be a Father's Day project, could be a project for graduate or birthday. The whole design is based on lots of fun pockets and little folders where you can tuck photos or perhaps gift cards. I've got one tucked inside here, and it's formed as a wallet. So this was the idea behind a Father's Day card slash gift combo. And dads often have lots of photos in their wallets and maybe not so much money. So that's what we've got going on today. Super simple to put together. So what I'm going to do is switch down my camera. We can take a closer look at the project itself. And then I'll show you the products that I'm working with. It's the Been There collection from Katie Purty, one that I absolutely love. And then we'll get into the demo. Now, we do have some links being popped into the chat. So all of the products that I'm going to be working with today are visible there. Alrighty, so I'm going to change this down and we can take a closer look, starting first with a little walkthrough of our project here. So the finished wallet measures, when it's closed, 6 inches, so 6 inches this way by 4.5 inches going this way. When it's open, it's 12 inches across. So I'm working with a 12 by 12 sheet of patterned paper. And on the front, I've got a nice large photograph. I've got some stamping going on here. We're going to talk about stamping, and a tag with some ephemera, little epoxy stickers on here too. And then when we open this up, the main part of our wallet has 2 pocket areas here on each side. So this portion here is a card that flips open, so you can have a personalized greeting. You can have a photo tucked on here if you want. And then this ephemera, it's like a file folder. This is also attached as a pocket. Then on the other side, I've got a couple of pockets here. So again, another file folder. This can hold another photo, perhaps a gift card in here. You've got a tag tucked in here, and then another tag with some stamping in the larger pocket, which is this portion right here. So pocket, pocket, and then behind here, 2 more pockets. And inside here, I've got larger photos. So these are, they're not true 4 by 6 photos. They have been trimmed just a little bit. So you trim those down just so that they can fit easily inside. So that's a walkthrough through our project today. Let me show you what I've been playing with, and then we can get into the demo. Thanks so much, folks, as you're jumping in. Do feel free to give a wave, say hello, and we'd love to hear from you. Love to hear what you're working on. And if you've got any plans for the weekend, we always like to know that too. I'm a little bit nosy about what other paper crafters have been up to. So we're going to start out with the Been There paper pad. Now, there are 2 paper pads in the collection, and there's one with lots of all over patterned papers. This one is one of my favorites because these papers, patterned papers, are patterned, but they are what we call reading as, I'm using air quotes, reading as a solid. So if you can see the designs here, that the patterns themselves are actually really, really subtle, which means that you can use these for backgrounds, you can use them for photo mats. But as you can see, like on this one, there's some really beautiful scuffing on here. Oops, here are all of my little snippets of cardstock. I want to keep those all together. This is a good example. So you can see that really beautiful texture on here. So super simple to use. Backgrounds, photo mats, you can stamp on them as we will do today. So there's a lot of different options with these. And because you've got 6 double-sided designs, 4 sheets each, you've got lots of them to play with. So great collection there. So that's going to be our foundation. Now, there's also a set of ephemera, coordinating ephemera pieces. And I'll flip this over and you can see the contents here. This is where I'm getting those file folders, the tags, some sentiment banners, and also some hearts and other larger headline words, like, for example, this one right here. Now, these are all adventure themed, travel themed, journey themed. So they work really nicely for travel. They also work nicely for any kind of adventure, I suppose you could say. So whether you're going far away or close to home, these are really wonderful ways to document your travel album. Now, I will say these have been super popular and they are coming back in stock. So do keep an eye out on the Arden social media because they'll let you know exactly when those will be back in stock. Fiona told me it was going to be about mid-July, so not too far away. Then I've also got my epoxy stickers here that I have been working with too. You can see these on the front of the folder. And these are just a really great way to add a little bit of shine and dimension to your projects quickly and easily. And you've got oodles of them in here, some with words and sentiments, then the hearts, and then all of these little dots with patterns and solids too. So super fun to work with. Last but not least are the 2 stamp sets that I'm going to be playing with today. So we have the Seek More collection, which is this one here, and then the Charted Adventures, which has some map fragments and kind of like old cartography designs. And these are measuring 4 by 8 inches. So the designs in here are petite. You've got a lot of different elements in here to work with, and they go together beautifully, not only for building backgrounds, but also just little accent pieces on your project. All righty. So those are our supplies. I'm going to set these to one side and let's just jump right into our demo. So I'm going to start with one of the sheets of 12 by 12 papers from our collection. I've trimmed this down though, so this is not 12 inches by 12 inches. It's 12 inches across by 8.5 inches tall. And I've just trimmed this down already so that we can start with this and you don't have to watch me fiddling around and cutting things. What I'm going to do is fold this in half. In the US, we would call this folding it the hot dog way. So if there are any grade school teachers or former grade school teachers with us today, you will be familiar with the term hot dog folding. So it means that you'll fold it up like so. Now you can fold it edge to edge if you want, but I wanted to have a little bit of a kind of like that graduated pocket style for the wallet. So I wanted this to go not all the way up to the very top, but just to leave a little bit of a gap there. Now you could score this and fold it, or you can just kind of go for it like I'm gonna do. So scoring this down here. And I like to use a bone folder to give a nice crisp fold on here. I've got that creased really nicely. So this is going to be the start of the base of my wallet. And then I'm going to fold this in half this way. So let's roll this over here. And this is going to be end to end. And again, grease this really well. And then what I'm going to do is open this up. Here, I think you can really see that nice scuffing and faux pattern on here. I really like that, the faux texture. Now, what I can do is work with this as it is, but I also really like to add a little bit of inking on here. So I'm going to use my trusty light brown ink pad. This is mustard color. And following all of these lines, I'm just going to add a bit of shaded ink around the outside edges here. And again, this is not something that you have to do. I tend to reach for a brown ink pad every time I want to add just a little bit of softness and dimension around on the outside edges of cards or matted pieces. Around here, and then I'm going to flip this in. This is the valley fold. I'm going to flip it around so that I can get some nice dimension on here. All right, you can tell that this is a well-loved ink pad. It's looking a little bit dry. I think I might need to top that up. Okay, so now I've got some nice shading around here. And here's my original folded wallet ready to go. One thing I want to do, because this is a project that will get opened and folded, and I've got pockets and I've got lots of stuff going on here, I want to reinforce the bottom, the folded bottom of my wallet. And to do that, I'm going to use some PET tape. I really have to train myself not to call it pet tape, but I may slip up on that. This is not from the Been There series, but from the Garden Chronicles series. And this is the continuous ledger design. And if I pop this down here, I think you can see this design is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to pull off a piece and trim off a piece that's just a little bit longer than my wallet. I have to put this rubber band back on here, otherwise it'll unfurl. And I have a little tip that I'm going to share with you on removing the liner from your PET tape. This is something that I often struggle with, not so often when I'm by myself, usually just when I'm on camera. And sometimes it can be tricky to separate the liner from the tape itself. So Katie Pertit had a video up on YouTube where she shared a tip from someone she knows named Brandy. So we have Brandy to thank for this tip. Brandy suggested you take a piece of masking tape and you're going to try and, if you can get it released, sometimes that works really easily. But what you can also do is take your piece of masking tape, pop that down in the corner, make sure it's on there really firmly, and then pull this apart to separate. It works like a charm. I was amazed. So thank you, Brandy, for discovering this, and thank you to Katie for sharing it with all of us too. So this is going to make my life a lot quicker and easier in terms of working with the tape. Now this also works for those kiss cut images as well. Okay, so I'm going to place this about halfway onto the bottom. So again, this is the fold of my wallet. And halfway on and halfway off. And I'll place this down here. I'm going to smooth this down from the center, working out. And then I'll flip it over. And I'm just going to gently and kind of working all the way across the bottom here, smooth this out. What's nice about this tape is that you really don't have to worry about getting air bubbles or wrinkles in it. It really does stay on beautifully. So now I have this really nice reinforcement for the bottom of my pocket. which is a folded pocket, but it's nice, especially when you have something that will be handled quite a lot. It's nice to have a little bit of extra reinforcement on there. Now I have a bit of extra tape on here too, so I can just open this up again and I'll trim this off, even with the edges. And on the other side here. Alrighty. Okay, so I've got this accent on here, which I really like. I love that there's also a little bit of extra kind of different texture on here too. Now here's the next part of my wallet project. And that's going to be to create the side pockets on here. So you don't want anything to fall out the open sides. And you have a decision to make. So you can either simply put double-sided tape on the short ends, fold this up, and then you've got a sealed end to end. You can also put some double-sided tape in here if you really want to have these two pockets to be separated. I didn't do that on my project, so that's totally up to you. For this, though, I would recommend that you use a really sturdy tape, one that is, again, built to withstand lots of handling. A red line tape, or the extra sticky tape as it's sometimes called, this is going to do the trick. So I'm going to put this on the short end, the short side of my page. I've got one on this side, and then before I close that up, I'll pull off a piece for the other side too. And then secure this down over here. Alrighty. And these liners can be tricky to get off as well, so we'll see how I do. There we go. Okay. Easier said. Okay, so now I've got my liners removed. I've got my tape on either side, and I'm going to go ahead and just fold this up. Again, making sure that those sides are even. So now I have like what's a really big pocket, but with this folded piece in the middle, I still have some room now for my photos to get tucked inside there. All righty, let's go back to the front of our wallet. Move these off to one side here, and we can start decorating the front. So on the front of mine, I've got some pattern paper here. I've also got a fairly large photo. This is a 4-inch square photo. I've got a tag, and then I've also got some of this really cool stamping. So let's pull out a piece of this coordinating pattern paper, and we can do our kind of foreground area. So now I have a choice because I've got this beautiful double-sided paper on which side I want to work with, and I'm going to choose the side that has less of a pattern. So this has that kind of scuffing design on here, kind of a faux texture. And let's play with the elements that we've got on here. So I've got my photograph, place that at kind of an angle going this way. I have one of the tags from the ephemera collection. Now these do have holes at the top, and if you want, you can add in a little bit of twine or ribbon. I've got some of this really lightweight jute twine that I like to use for projects because it adds a touch of softness, but it doesn't add a lot of bulk to a project, which is great. Okay, I'm just going to loop this through and tie it. There we go. And I can also add at the top, like I did on my original, one of these little epoxy stickers. So let me pull out a sheet of this. And you can play with the different sentiments on here. Let's see it. Then we've got dream big, wild ride, just go, right here. I like the right here. That's a nice one. And then I'm just going to position this on top of the tag. And that's also going to help to secure my twine in place. And that's what it will look like on the other side. So it's just threaded right through. Okay, so I've got that positioned behind here. Now I do have a little bit of space on either side, and I thought I would fill this space with some stamping. So let's grab a set of stamps. I'm going to use the Charted Adventures. If you are new to stamping, these stamps are great because you've got lots of small elements. Let me bring this back in. You can see this up against the white. You've got lots of elements that can be used effortlessly as backgrounds. So you can take any of these kind of abstract elements and simply stamp them to add a little bit of color and kind of some faux texture in different areas. And because you're not specifically trying to create an image that will, for example, be colored in, it's not like an image of, I don't know, a flower or something like that. The abstracted design really does make it nice, especially for those who are working in a hurry or are maybe beginning stampers. So I'm going to grab this little guy down here, which is just a row of numbers, looks like on a bit of a chart. And I'm going to position this down here. I'm leaving my elements in place so I can play with the positioning a little bit. And then let's see, I need another small something maybe to go along the edge over here. So I'm going to take this piece, this stamp, and I'm going to turn it on its side. And let's have this going over here. So I'll move away my elements. I've got those in place. And I'm just going to use my acrylic stamping block. You can use a MISTI for this or a stamp positioner if you want to, but with the individual smaller stamps, an acrylic block will do the trick. And I'll be stamping in black, and I'm using the VersaFine Nocturne. So this is a really nice deep black color. Okay, so all I need to do is place my stamp on my block. Now, if you are a new stamper or you haven't done it before, clear acrylic stamps have two sides. You've got the side that's got the image or the design kind of engraved in it, if you will, and then you have a smooth side. So you'll just place that smooth side onto your block and it will stick. So you don't need to have any adhesive on there. It will stay in place. And then just tap this onto your ink pad and then simply press it in place. And there we go. Now to clean your stamp, what I like to do is just dab it off with a rag. You can use a baby wipe if you want to. My other piece is going to go over here. You'll notice I just peeled that right off of my block. And then let's bring this one over here. Just position that down. And again, really easy way to add just a little bit of texture and design onto your project. And it works beautifully onto pattern paper. So let's bring back in these elements here. And there you can see how they're kind of tucked in behind some of these other pieces. So what I'll do from here, I'm just going to grab my my dot roller and let's secure these in place. My tag, put that down like so, and then same thing with our photo. And I'm using the 360 glue dot roller, also from Arden. Okay, and then I'm going to position this here. I want that little epoxy sticker to be kind of overlapping. So we'll go like so. So I've got that secured in place and then can position it onto the front of my wallet. Now, before I secure that down, I'm going to set it to one side so that when I'm working on the inside of my wallet, I don't have to worry about that kind of getting into anything else that might be clogging up my desk. So let's take a look at what will go on the inside of our wallet. So I'll bring this back in and we can take another look here. So again, on this side, I've got a folded over, it's basically like a greeting card folded over on here. And for that, I'm using another piece of the pattern paper from the Been There collection. And this is 7 inches by 5 inches. So I've just trimmed this out with my paper trimmer and then folded it over in half. So let's roll this over like so and secure it down. Again, I'm going to use my bone folder for a little bit of extra crispness on here. And then I've got my card that can tuck right inside. So let's add this in here. And that will just go right on top, right in the center. So it's overlapping some of my pet tape and it's almost going to the top of my wallet. And then I can pop whatever I want to have go inside here. In my original, I have another photo with another sentiment, one of the ephemera pieces from the collection, and a little bit of stamping going on underneath this photo. I also have a piece of white cardstock. So this little girl is not 6 years old anymore. She's 15. I gave her this piece of cardstock the other day and I said, can you please write a message, a Father's Day message for Papa? And can you fill, it would be nice if you could fill the whole piece. And she did fill it, I mean, with a giant space, but she's 15. So I have to give her credit for brevity on here. She got the message right. So I've got the message that I've just simply glued into the top here, and then this folds over. Now let's talk about what's going on the front here, because again, I've got one of these file folders that's creating a pocket. I've got another file folder over on this side. I think for the demo, I'm going to save my file folder that I do have left from my ephemera pack to show you on this side. So on this side, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Fold that down. And I'm going to use, instead of one of the file folders, I'm going to use one of these postcard ephemera pieces. And this is a little bit bigger than the file folder, but I wanted to see how this would work out too. So in this case, I've got my extra sticky tape on 3 sides, again, to form a pocket. And we'll just peel this off. Maybe easier said than done. And this will form the pocket on top of our card. Quickly and easily, she says with confidence. I'm going to try that on the other side here. And what I like about all of the pockets on here, you can fill them with photos, with notes, with any kind of messages. And I think this just works really nicely for any of your really special occasion card giving occasions. So not just Father's Day, this would be nice for Mother's Day as well. You could also do birthdays, graduations, anytime you want to give somebody a really special gift and card combo. Okay, all 3 sides are ready to go, and I'll just position this down right on here. Now, if you want to, you can also use an ink pad to go around the outside edge of this, around the outside edge of this piece too. That all works nicely. And then you can tuck in your photos. So the photos that I printed these at my local drugstore. And you can print them on a sheet that looks like this. These are called, at my drugstore, they're called retro minis. So they look like a one of those Polaroid photos, and you can print lots of them on one sheet, and they come to be a nice small size. And so this will tuck right inside, and that just works really nicely. And then I can add some of my ephemera on here. So I've got a fun sentiment, ready for adventure, and I could take a heart piece that I have here, one of the ephemera pieces. Let's tack that down. And just put this down like so. Let's put that here. And then I've got some foam tape on the back of my ephemera piece. And I really like these larger ephemera pieces with the sentiments because I think they work nicely for scrapbook pages, for 12 by 12s, as well as cards or little folios, smaller albums. And I'm going to position this just overlapping that heart, like so. Now, on my original, I've also got one of these postage mark stamps on here. So let's take a look at this. I am a sucker for a postage mark stamp. I just love them. This set has 3. You've got one that says our favorite place. This one says return to sender. And then this one is on a road trip. So let's see which one I want to use. I like them all. I'm going to grab the return to sender. So again, just pull this off of the backing sheet and grab my acrylic block. And I want this to kind of go, let's see, I want this to go off around the side here. I'm going to be overlapping some of the text that's printed on here. Let me move aside my photo. And have this kind of going off of the postcard. And the fun thing about the postmark stamps is that you can really use them just about anywhere. And if they don't print out perfectly, that's okay. It'll make it look even more authentic because very often they don't in real life. Okay, so that turned out pretty nicely. And then it really matches the postmark that's printed on over here too. And let's clean that off quickly. Put that to one side. And then I can fill this with a photo, a note, 2 notes, 2 photos, whatever you want to have going on in the inside of your card, whatever your sentiment is. Now, also keeping in mind that you do have space back here for another larger photo too. All righty, let's move over to the other side and we can have a look at what's going on over here. So on my original, now I've also got a couple of layers of pockets. So this pattern papered piece is a pocket. So is this envelope. And then I've just got a bunch of stuff tucked in here. So again, another photo. I've got a gift card. He likes coffee. We've also got another tag on here with some handwriting. And then back here, I've got still another tag with this really cool sentiment that's been stamped on there, which I think is just a really nice sentiment, not only for travel themes, but also kind of like going on adventure sort of in life in general. So all of these elements are tucked in here and here. Okay, and then I've got some overstamping going on over there as well. So let's have a look here. And I've got my smaller piece of cardstock. Now this piece measures 3.5 inches by 4 inches wide. That's right. I have to check my notes. And that doesn't have to be any particular, there's no rhyme or reason to that size. It can be any particular size that works for whatever you want to tuck inside. I think that was just the size that worked with my little snippets that I had left over from this sheet. I wanted to put them all to good use. Again, I've got my 3 strips of adhesive on here. And once I get that pulled off, there we go. Then I can pop this down. And again, it's overlapping some of that PET tape. I'm really trying very hard not to call it pet tape, but it's a very difficult, it's difficult for me for some reason. Okay, so here's my pocket. Again, you could also ink around the outside edges of this if you want to. That can also help it to stand out a little bit more. And then I've got my file folder. Now, in the ephemera pack, you get, let's see, 3 of these file folders, I believe. These are wonderful to use for stamping on, for embellishing with, or of course, for creating additional little pockets. So again, here's some more fun watching me take the liners off of these. And this will create our top pocket. So I hope that those of you who are watching, I hope that this project is one that you think that you can utilize and take off into different directions, just depending on who you are giving a special card and gift combination to. Okay, I've got my 3 sides on here, and I'll just pop this down right on top. Okay, so again, pocket here, pocket here, pocket here. So lots of opportunities for different things to tuck inside. And again, I've got my photo. It's the perfect size for a gift card. If you can convince your teenager or your child to write anything else on a tag, that's also a good place to tuck in. She's referring to an adventure that, speaking of things that can fit into these pockets, looks like our gift is going to be virtual reality. So they are definitely going on an adventure. If you've not done virtual reality before, it definitely is an adventure. We have a very fun place to do that here in Hamburg. And these 2 absolutely love it. I've done it once and I've survived it. So I'm going to call that good. Now, I've also got another tag here with this stamped sentiment, and this is from our Seek More collection. And I just love this. I think it works beautifully for so many different themes, and it fits perfectly onto this tag, which again, I've got a little bit of jute twine on there. I'm going to tuck this in here. And then you can kind of play around with positioning things and how you want them kind of peeking out from the different pockets. And then to go on top of here, you can also add in maybe another bit of embellishment. I've also got some X's along the edge here too. And these are also from our Seek More. So you've got an outline of an X, and then you've got the filled X, so that it's all dark on there. And that's the one that I've used here. And I wanted that to go overlapping between the 2 of those so that it would look like it's kind of stitched on. I'm going to take those elements out of the pocket so I don't have any excess bulge on there. Take my acrylic block and put my X on here. Pick up some color from my ink pad, and then I'm just going to position this so it's going to go overlapping. So I've got 1, 2, and then here's the 3rd one. And that gives a really fun stitched effect. And then maybe I want to add another sentiment on here. There's one that says, adventures over things, stories over stuff. I really like that sentiment. So let's pop this down. I'm going to use a little bit of foam tape for this. And pop this down. Let's do it right there. So again, it's overlapping. So then once again, let's tuck in our small photo, gift card, tag, and another tag. Let's put this in the back. And we've got this full and a really nice presentation. Now, once again, you've got your inside area here where you can tuck in some larger photos. Let me show you over here on my original again. They started out as 4 by 6 photos, just standard photo size. And I trimmed them down slightly so that they could fit in here a little bit more easily so that they could be pulled out and put back in without jamming things or without having to squeeze them in there. So that worked out really well. Then on the back of my folder, I've got another one of these little ephemera pieces, and I've just jotted down the date with another one of those epoxy hearts to remind us of what date, what year we were doing this in. So hopefully, this has been a fun and inspiring little folio for you. Again, remember, it works beautifully for Father's Day, would be great for Mother's Day as well, hint, hint, and can also work really nicely for just about any theme. Now, speaking of teenagers and that they seem to always be around you when they need something out of your wallet, this would also be a really nice gift and card idea for a teenager. So if someone is going away, perhaps on a school holiday, or maybe just graduating or something, some other occasion, birthday would also work, where you want to include not only a card, but also perhaps a money gift, or who knows, maybe your teenager will be also at the virtual reality walking around in a headset looking something like this. So either way, you've got some ideas and some different ways of putting this to use. And it's also, I have to say, it comes together really pretty quickly and easily as well. Lots of room for modification to suit your style and your card giving occasion. All righty, everybody. I'm going to turn up my camera so that I can see you one more time before we say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining today. I think we on one of our streams maybe had a bit of a glitch. I'm only seeing a couple of comments, so hopefully those have been caught and answered. If not, I'll come back and give another check and make sure that if there were any outstanding questions, that we've got all of those answered. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If it's very warm where you are, I hope you can stay cool. And I will see you again next time. We are back on July 3rd with me, and I will have another project idea for you then. All righty, everybody, do take care, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.